Magical power, the ultimate currency among witches and wizards. With enough of it, you can dazzle your classmates, climb the wizarding hierarchy, social or economic, and perhaps even dare to conquer the world. Whether it's used to protect, create, or destroy, magical power is the ultimate force that shapes the destinies of witches and wizards. But given its significance, what is magical power really? Is it simply raw strength, the ability to cast more powerful spells than anyone else? Or is it something deeper, something tied to intellect, skill, or even character? If that's the case, what sets the most powerful wizards like Voldemort and Dumbledore apart from others? And perhaps most importantly, what makes performing magic hard? What is it that separates a simple spell from a complex one? Today we'll be diving into 3 of my theories as we peel back the layers of magical power in Harry Potter. Let's dive into it. When Dumbledore was still just a student at Hogwarts, he performed magic that Griselda Marchbanks, the head of the Wizarding Examinations Authority, described as something she had never seen before. And shortly thereafter, he went on to win numerous wizarding accolades, including the Barnabas Finkley Prize for Exceptional Spellcasting, an award presented for outstanding spellcasting techniques, as well as a gold medal for groundbreaking contributions to the International Alchemical Conference. But this was just the beginning of Dumbledore's remarkable string of achievements. As his skill and reputation grew, he became widely regarded as one of the most gifted wizards of his time, with his academic brilliance and groundbreaking experiments resulting in some of the most significant contributions ever made to the wizarding world. But the crowning jewel of his career, his defeat over the other contender for the title of the most powerful wizard of the era, Gellert Grindelwald. A young Tom Riddle had a much slower start than Dumbledore, but once he arrived at Hogwarts, he quickly proved to be the most impressive student the school had seen since Dumbledore. Riddle's potential was immediately apparent, and his achievements as a student were nothing short of extraordinary. By his 5th year, he had become a prefect and later earned the title of head boy, all while maintaining an immaculate academic record. In his quest for power, Riddle delved into the darkest branches of magic, driven by the same obsession with immortality and supremacy that would define his life. By his teenage years, he had already mastered the forbidden art of creating Horcruxes, a feat so complex and sinister that it remained beyond the comprehension of, well, pretty much everyone. Riddle not only succeeded in crafting one Horcrux, but went on to create many, fracturing his soul in pursuit of immortality. And these accomplishments, though abhorrent, demonstrated an extraordinary understanding of magic and an unmatched ability to manipulate its darkest depths. But the most impressive part about all of this, that Riddle maintained an immaculate public persona, earning titles like Head Boy and the prestigious Special Services to the School Award, despite being completely evil. His ability to balance dark ambitions with a flawless outward reputation made him one of the most cunning and formidable young wizards in Hogwarts history, foreshadowing his transformation into the feared and one day very powerful Lord Voldemort. By adulthood, both Voldemort and Dumbledore had a laundry list of magical capabilities that far surpassed those of any other witch or wizard. Dumbledore had mastered things like transfiguration, charms, potions, elemental magic, and occlumency. And Voldemort, on the darker side of things, could fly, create Horcruxes, control Inferi, and possess living creatures. Sure, some of these abilities were accessible to the lay wizard, but they weren't able to perform them to nearly the same level that Voldemort or Dumbledore could. They were simply in a league of their own. But what is it that makes them so special? They went to the same wizarding school as everyone else, they're both half-bloods, which a lot of students are, and their upbringings, while starkly different, weren't inherently magical. Dumbledore grew up in a modest household marred by tragedy, and Voldemort spent his formative years in a Muggle orphanage, disconnected from the magical world until he got to Hogwarts. So, what is it that made these two the most powerful wizards in history? Theory 1. Intelligence. An easy analogy to understand magical ability would be intelligence. The smarter you are, the easier it is to comprehend and pick up on the subtleties of magic, and therefore wield it. However, if intelligence were the primary contributing factor to magical power, then the smartest wizards would always be the most powerful, which we know isn't the case. And if you need further convincing, just look at Hermione Granger or Barty Crouch Jr., both of whom were undoubtedly the most brilliant witches and wizards of their age, mastering spellwork and theory far beyond their peers during their time at Hogwarts. Hermione achieved outstanding academic success, where she received the top grade of O in almost all of her subjects. And Barty Crouch Jr. is one of only 3 known characters to receive all 12 owls. Both were just naturally very intelligent. Things came easily to them. Yet, despite being nothing to scoff at, they don't particularly stand out in any conversation surrounding magical power. And I think that the distinction that needs to be made here is that intelligence can be measured in many different ways. Some witches and wizards may be incredibly intelligent, but still completely inept at certain tasks or incapable of experiencing or processing specific emotions. And I think that this highlights how complex and nuanced the concept of intelligence truly is. There's practical wisdom, gained through years of life experience, alongside cunning, academic intelligence, and emotional intelligence, all of which play their own unique role. And crucially, none of these are inherently more important than the others. They all contribute to a person's overall capacity to navigate the world and, in the case of wizards, to wield magic effectively. And in the cases of Voldemort and Dumbledore, it's possible that they just happen to be far more well-rounded than most, achieving a near-perfect formula of qualities that set them apart. They combined raw magical talent, extraordinary intelligence, and unparalleled ambition with the discipline and focus necessary to master their craft. However, I still believe that, to achieve the things they did, they must have been among the greatest minds the wizarding world has ever known. Over the course of human history, countless brilliant minds have graced the world, but only a select few have truly stood out, those whose intellect and achievements left an indelible mark. Think of figures like Einstein, whose theories redefined physics, or Da Vinci, whose boundless curiosity and ingenuity spanned art, science, and engineering. These individuals weren't just smart, they applied their intelligence in ways that reshaped humanity's understanding of the world. History shows us that a group of bright minds working together can struggle to match the insights of a singular genius. And in the magical world, this same principle holds true, though brilliance isn't solely defined by academic success or raw intelligence. It's shaped by how one applies their knowledge, creativity, and moral compass. Dumbledore's power stemmed from his unmatched intellect, deep emotional insight, and the wisdom gained from his personal failures. He also wasn't just a master of spellwork, but a master of people, understanding the complexities of human nature and using that knowledge to lead and inspire. On the other hand, Voldemort's power was driven by an intense singularity of purpose. His ambition to conquer death and dominate the wizarding world pushed him to explore the darkest depths of magic. They were both highly intelligent in every way that wielding magic needed them to be. It wasn't just one trait, but a delicate balance of many that made them stand above the rest. And if we look at spellcasting as an indication of one's ability to perform magic, it becomes clear that intelligence and magical prowess are closely connected. All the greatest magic users are consistently praised for their academic brilliance and intellectual capacity. No wizards spring to mind that were intellectually deficient, yet capable of wielding extraordinary magical power. Professors at Hogwarts are another good example of this. These are individuals that are not only experts in magical theory, but also highly skilled practitioners. When Voldemort attacked Hogwarts, it wasn't the younger, more physically trained Aurors who stood alongside Kingsley Shacklebolt in battle, it was professors like Minerva McGonagall and Horace Slughorn. Theory 2. Innate magical power. They're born with it. The first thing I want to lay out here is that magic is an inherent part of the fabric of the universe and exists as a kind of energy that can be harnessed and manipulated by those with the ability to do so. And the next thing I want to clarify is that witches, wizards, and other creatures who possess magical abilities bear a gene that allows them to exploit the natural forces of magic. Witches and wizards are essentially advanced or mutated human beings that have either inherited the ability to exploit magic through their ancestry, or, in rarer occasions, independently developed the ability to exploit magic through a genetic mutation. They have advanced physiologies, heightened perception, and, if gifted enough, have the ability to control the world's elements to some extent. There's also a laundry list of additional physiological benefits besides the magical gene they possess. Given that the only thing separating muggles from magical beings is this genetic difference, It's reasonable to argue that Voldemort and Dumbledore are simply more mutated. They represent a higher tier of magical evolution, and their genetic makeup and physiological traits are fine-tuned to an extent rarely seen in wizarding history. This idea of being more mutated could explain why these two individuals could achieve feats that other witches and wizards could only dream of. While most magical beings are like radios tuned to receive the frequencies of magic, Dumbledore and Voldemort were like precision instruments, capable of tuning into the rarest and most powerful frequencies with ease, possessing minds and bodies that were deeply attuned to the magical forces of the universe. If we go by this theory, then their power is rooted in their very biology, possessing bodies and minds that were simply better equipped to harness the full potential of magic. Theory 3. Strife. My third and final theory is that Dumbledore and Voldemort's level of magical power is a direct result of the pain and strife that they had to endure in their earlier life. Before either of them attended Hogwarts or exhibited any notable magical power, both boys endured a childhood filled with pain. Dumbledore's early life was filled with tragedy and loss. At the age of 10, his father was imprisoned in Azkaban after attacking Muggle boys who had harmed and caused permanent damage to his sister, Ariana. This left Dumbledore in a broken home without a father figure, with the family eventually moving to the town of Godric's Hollow. Following Ariana's attack from the Muggle boys, she could no longer control her magic, and this subsequently led to the death of Dumbledore's mother when Ariana inadvertently caused a magical explosion that killed her. This left Dumbledore with the burden of responsibility for his troubled siblings, Aberforth and Ariana, at an age when most children are still discovering themselves. He was just a boy, and he already had the weight of the world on his shoulders. Voldemort's upbringing, though quite different from Dumbledore's, contained just as much pain. Born as Tom Riddle, he was the child of Merripy Gaunt, a witch who died shortly after his birth, and Tom Riddle Sr., a Muggle who abandoned her before Tom was born. Orphaned and left to grow up in a loveless environment at Wolves Orphanage, Tom experienced a childhood devoid of affection, security, or belonging. He was abandoned, forgotten, and forced to spend his childhood staring at the grey walls of Wolves Orphanage. And the truth is, he couldn't have been in an orphanage during a worse time period. The orphanage system in the UK only really began to take off in the 19th century, which meant that it was still very much in its infancy. And during Tom's time there, the circumstances were nothing short of terrible. The aftermath of the First World War had left a surplus of war orphans, combined with programs aiming to remove street children from the grim city streets. This sudden influx of children easily overwhelmed the existing system, resulting in overcrowded facilities and a severe lack of resources. The dire conditions led to scarce provisions, with it not being uncommon for multiple children to share a bed or sleep on the floor. Lack of nutritious food was a constant struggle, and orphans often subsisted on the same meagre and watered-down soup or porridge for weeks on end. Overworked caretakers, who were stretched thin and in many cases were neglectful or even abusive, added to the challenging atmosphere. To make matters worse, during this time many children as young as 12 were forced into labour, working grueling hours in docks and factories. With hygiene conditions deteriorating, diseases like diphtheria, cholera and measles flourished, leaving malnourished children with weakened immune systems vulnerable to these illnesses. And as if the conditions were not already dire enough, in 1931 the Great Depression struck the United Kingdom, coinciding with Tom being just 5 years old. Orphanages lost a significant portion of their funding, exacerbating the scarcity of food and resources. The reality of death surrounded the young children, with illness and disease claiming the lives of those all around them. Bearing all of this in mind, I want to put forward the theory that it was their shared history of suffering that acted as a catalyst for their exceptional magical ability. Rather than crumble beneath their hardships, they instead channeled their pain and leveraged it. Like diamonds formed under immense pressure, their genius and power were forged through adversity, ambition, and personal trials that would have broken lesser individuals. Dumbledore rose above his hardships, striving to make the world better despite his own flaws and regrets. Voldemort, on the other hand, allowed his pain to consume him, using it as justification for his cruelty and lust for power. It's entirely possible that magical power might be inherently tied to the emotional intensity of the witch or wizard wielding it. Strong emotions, love, fear, anger, and grief, are the keys to unlocking one's true magical potential. Another great example of this is Lily's loving sacrifice. The spell she cast to protect an infant Harry, sacrificial protection, was perhaps the single greatest and most powerful spell in Harry Potter canon, far more powerful and impressive than anything else she had ever cast. And what did it take for her to get there? Witnessing her family being murdered in front of her very eyes. And when Harry became the first wizard of his age to produce a powerful Patronus charm, what did it take for him to get there? Saving Sirius from the Dementors. I know he cast it before that at the Quidditch match, but it wasn't quite the same. Anyway, that effectively concludes my third theory. What do you think is most important in determining a wizard's magical power? Is it intelligence, innate magical power, genetic mutations, or overcoming adversity? Or perhaps it's a combination of them all. Let me know down in the comment section below. And if you enjoy the content, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, remember, it does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live.